This is a Louis video.
But probably not the one you're expecting.
Don't worry, I am going to finish the history of Doctor Who videos. Wait to the end for an update and please enjoy this video. The UK has great TV.
Started making it, had a breakdown. Bon appetit.
Great music.
Some people think I'm bonkers.
And we can't stop making the stuff. But I'm here to connect two specific things, and you've read the title already. As many fans of the show, I love both of these things, and I can't wait to see what they do with them for the new series, as the show hasn't shied away from its love of the Fab Four. For a while, the possibility of a Beatles episode was just an idea or something expanded media would deal with, but for Series 14? No. Season 40? Oh, okay. For Season 1! Oh, that did not feel right to say that. The 15th Doctor and Ruby will meet them in the 60s at Abbey Road Studios. So, let's break down how many times these two British icons have crossed paths, and then debate how many of these Russell will decanonise. I, for one, welcome our new Overlord Russell. Kind of. I don't know yet, I'm pretty scared. In this video, I'm going to break down on-screen TV references, expanded media such as books, comics, and Big Finish, so audio. And then finally, a look to the future and my ideal Beatles episode. So, let's start off with on-screen TV references. 1963. When Doctor Who started in November, the Beatles had taken off and they released their EP, Please Please Me, along with their absolute banger of a single, She Loves You.
She loves you, yeah.
As they were starting to tour the world, the Doctor, Susan, Ian and Barbara were starting to tour across the universe.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
In Universe, another band is trending quite similar to the Beatles called John Smith and the Common Men. And Susan's quite a fan as she appreciates one of their tunes. Throughout 1964 to 65, the Beatles were touring around the world to screaming fans, whilst our TARDIS team were fighting off screeching Daleks. During the Doctor's travels, he pulls out the time-space visualizer, and we see the Beatles perform Ticket to Ride. Thanks to this episode, this is one of the only surviving clips of the group on Top of the Pops because of all that bloody BBC junking. But there's a blunder. Ian knows the lyrics off by heart, despite being flung into the TARDIS in 1963, but this song hadn't even been released yet.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
The only on-screen explanation I can give it is that the Doctor must have had some albums lying around from then Earth's future. As Barbara turns off the visualizer, the Doctor exclaims,
"Now you've squashed my favourite Beatles."
This confirms our Doctor was a Beatles fan from the get-go. Originally behind the scenes, the Beatles were invited to play themselves as older men in the future, but their managers said, "God no, you aren't doing Doctor Who, lads," and thus we got this clip instead. License rights now for Beatles songs are a hefty penny or two, hence why some clips of their music in the show are cut from some releases due to copyrights and all that stuff. As we continue with the TV series, our Doctor changes into Patrick Troughton as he sports a Beatle-like haircut. At this point, the band is done with touring and they're making their new album. The Doctor and Jamie head off to a London cafe in the story Evil of the Daleks, where Paperback Writer is being played on the radio. But as this episode is missing, it doesn't even appear on its animated counterpart, but it does appear on the BBC audio recording CD.
Why do I get all the difficult tasks, Doctor? Because you're so much better at them than I am, Jamie. I want you to find out.
The band released Sgt. Pepper's and Magical Mystery Tour along with having a few movies starring themselves.
Let's all get up.
It's all in the mind, you know.
They released their final albums and then eventually break up in 1970. With the third Doctor, he has a cheeky reference to the song I Am the Walrus.
I am he and he is me.
And we are all together, Goo Goo Kichu?
What?
It's a song by the Beatles.
How does it go?
Later on, more references. They crop up with the Sixth Doctor in the episode Revelation of the Daleks, where the posters of the Beatles are behind the DJ on Necros. And later on, in the episode Remembrance of the Daleks, the Doctor and Ace go to a cafe where the songs Do You Want to Know a Secret?
Like what then?
And A Taste of Honey are playing on the radio.
We need to establish a forward base at the school. Can it be done?
Of course.
In Ghostlight, the Seventh Doctor title drops A Hard Day's Night.
And I've been working.
No Beatles references for a while to the revival in Series 3, in the episode called 42, where the 10th Doctor and Martha are stuck on a ship heading towards the sun. Martha has to answer pub quiz questions to open the doors, one being...
Who had the most number ones, Elvis or the Beatles? That's pre-download.
And the Doctor mumbles the title...
Here comes the sun.
In Series 6, the 11th Doctor gloats about how much time he has left and says that he could even go on to join the Beatles.
Join the Beatles. Hello.
But who's to say this didn't happen according to this photo? Even Stephen Moffat wants to do something about it, apparently. We don't have many references after that to the 13th Doctor, where Yaz's dad is having trouble with his Alexa trying to play Rubber Soul.
Play Rubber Soul!
The nearest shoe shop is 1.2 miles walking distance.
I think it just hurts your voice, Dad.
That's it for TV appearances and references, but here's where it gets interesting. The show has a multitude of expanded media, such as audiobooks, novels, comics, and video games. So let's begin with the comics and books, because there's been plenty. Here's a few of my favourites. In this story from the 2002 Dalek Survival Guide, it implied the Beatles seen in the chase were actually Dalek human slaves imitating the Fab Four as a deception for the Doctor and his companions. Bless the wilderness years, you are a gift that keeps on giving. In another book, the 6th Doctor jams with the Beatles in this short story after learning the guitar in Hamburg before the Beatles got big. In another book, it's revealed Mark Chapman was manipulated by an Aztec warrior to kill John Lennon.
Kill John Lennon!
Huh?
Sometimes the wilderness years need to calm down. In another book with the 8th Doctor, an alternate timeline is created where the Beatles did Live Aid in 1985 after not breaking up in 1970. The Doctor's then companion collects these alternate records. Maybe he's the one who leaked that Everyday Chemistry tape online. Now on to the comics. First of all, with these covers for the 10th Doctor's run of Titan comics. Like, look how good these are.
This right here is my favorite thing.
And now, with the Doctor and Martha, they managed to catch the Beatles in the Cavern Club singing She Loves You in a Doctor Who adventure comic strip. In another adventure, they try to visit Savile Row to see the rooftop concert, but end up in London during the plague instead. In Doctor Who magazine, the Doctor ends up bringing Donna to the Cavern Club, and that's where she asks for an autograph on a CD. Another Doctor Who Adventures comic, the Doctor tells the aliens that the secret to happiness is... all you need is love. Oh. In another comic, the 11th Doctor confirms that 96% of the audience for their first concert in the Cavern Club were all time travellers, including John Lennon. Also, this comic has a return of Bessie, but in monster truck form. With the 13th Doctor now, the fam are talking about going to see the Beatles, to where the Doctor says she's unable since she used up all the dates. Like, how many times has the Doctor gone to see the Beatles? Now it's time for the audios, and Big Finish have got their hands on a Beatles story.
Hey, we got there!
But with no Beatles. Of course, to license and use the Beatles songs in this day and age would cost the budget of Doctor Who. So they get around this pretty well by making an entire backstory for the Common Men, the band I mentioned earlier from the first story, An Unearthly Child.
And they're fabulous.
The story goes, an alien called Lenny, who is Biulian species. I need to listen to this story again.
First thing tomorrow morning, I'm going to punch Lenny in the back of the head.
Who kidnaps 3 children from his planet and takes them to Earth to create the band The Common Men. He uses them to take the Beatles' place in history and uses the power of their popularity and harnesses their energy to do evil doings. In this alternate timeline, the 5th Doctor and Nyssa team up with the fan and the band to discover the truth and put history back on track. This story manages to capture the fun of a 5th Doctor story and expands on such a tiny part of the original adventure of An Unearthly Child.
I wouldn't expect you to know things like that.
Continue with Big Finish, they love to reference the Beatles throughout their audios as well. Lucy Miller, companion of the 8th Doctor, owns a Beatles shirt. She even quotes When I'm 64 to the Doctor as well.
When I'm 64.
We find out in another story that Vicky knows all the lyrics to the Beatles' first EP, to which Barbara isn't too impressed. We're on to video games, and in only one of them, the adventure games, the Beatles get name dropped.
You know, we can go to see the Beatles play in 1963. Can I be John Lennon? What? Ringo?
There's no such thing as a sexy drummer.
They are confronted with an alternate timeline where the Daleks have invaded. In the end, they put the timeline right and go to meet the Beatles.
Now, didn't you say something about meeting Ringo Starr?
This brings us to the real world, and there's not much, apart from this picture of John Lennon at Cannes Festival with a Dalek behind him, and this gorgeous shot of Jenna Coleman and Peter Capaldi with 2 Daleks doing the Abbey Road pick to hype up Series 9. True icons. Now it's a look to the future. The outfits for the Doctor and Ruby are really, really nice, and they've already got some set pics of where they look incredible. Look, if that Disney money is getting put to use, we could get some Beatles songs or 2. And Jinx Monsoon has to be involved in this episode. Like, look at this outfit. I believe this episode is called The Devil's Chord, as Russell confirmed one of the titles for Series 14, Season 1, in Doctor Who magazine. During recent years, my love for the Beatles fell off. I collected all the reissues of Abbey Road, Let It Be and Revolver, but I was kind of beatled out, especially after seeing the Red Blue remaster and then not enjoying the Now and Then single. But there's other music I love. I love rock, soundtrack and straight up pop. So I wasn't missing the Beatles as much as I thought I would, especially after they've been my top artist for 6 years running, and then being dethroned by Dua Lipa in 2023. Now for my Beatles episode idea. For me, the Beatles work with all the Doctors, but there's 2 that stood out in mind for me. The 11th Doctor and the 13th Doctor. You could say the 12th Doctor, but that man deserves a Bowie episode and you can't argue me with that, thank you very much. Originally, I imagined it with the Fan, but of course it works even better with Yaz and Dan.
Alright lads, I was just looking for the period.
With Dan being an iconic Liverpudlian, how else? Here are some scenes and plot points I would have loved. Remember, I'm not a writer, this is just for pure fun as a fan, so please do not take it seriously. For my episode, I envision that the BBC can afford Beatles music and clips, so we're all good. Let's go off budget. The episode starts off with our team on a spaceship, in the middle of a conflict. Maybe they're trying to save a species, or maybe they're trying to retrieve an artifact. As they're trying to escape from this attacking force, we could chuck in a familiar enemy, maybe some Slitheen chasing them, or even make it silly, put some grass in there, or a brand new alien species, but something to hook the audience, just like the opening scene of A Hard Day's Night, when the screaming fans are chasing after the Beatles. Hey, even make Dan fall to the floor and eat the pavement as poor George Harrison did. As the scene continues with explosions, our Doctor doing doctory things, maybe Yaz literally looking at the Doctor and falling in love with her, they finish off by running into the TARDIS and escaping the ship with the artifacts or the people they just tried to save. The Doctor drops off the artifacts or the people they saved and asks where they should go for their next adventure, to which Dan asks if he could go see the Beatles live. And I love to make a connection to the comic book where she says she's used up all those dates, and she says no to Dan. He's pretty disappointed, and Yaz convinces her. Maybe this could tie into the Timeless Child arc with her being a bit, lost and bit angry still. So Yaz says, come on, let's just do it for Dan, he deserves it. Of course, the Doctor can't say no to her, and she finds a way to find the Beatles, maybe not live in concert, but in the studio. Cue the opening credits. I'd want to have gone down the route Big Finish did, by making them land in a reality where the Beatles never existed. Yes, we have a movie about that, but we're going to ignore it right now. I'm a Yesterday hater, and I forever will be. Get it out of my face. The story would revolve around the team trying to find out what has taken the Beatles out of history, resulting in a collapsing universe since history has been changed. Adapt some storylines from Fanfare for the Common Men from Big Finish, just like Robert Sherman did for Dalek and Jubilee, but if you want to make it more familiar, chuck in some lovely guest stars and maybe a returning villain. The Meddling Monk. Who else? The Weeping Angels, go on, or even better, the Trickster, or something to do with the Tricksters Brigade, like in Turn Left with that Beatle. Please help me. For me, I wouldn't want to cast anyone as the Beatles, keeping them out the story till the very end. We end the story with our team sorting it all out, maybe sending the Trickster back to where they came from, or teaming up with the Monk to save history, and they deliver what they want for Dan, and they land on the rooftops in London as they watch the rooftop concert, grabbing some chairs in the TARDIS and sitting down. Hey, give the Doctor and Yaz a little Thasmin moment, I don't know. And we end on the band playing Don't Let Me Down. And we can use the actual footage of the Beatles playing on the rooftop. Perfect. Hey, even green screen our gang into the background on one of the roofs, and even close the credits with a song playing over it. All of of that I just said couldn't make a full episode. It's just scenes I imagine and would love to have seen, and I was happy to share them with you. I could even see the last scene being used for Ruby and the 15th Doctor. I am beyond excited for the new series and hope it delivers. I'm hoping for the eventual episode of the Fab Four live up to the expectations of fans. It's exciting to finally have them be a apparent core part to the story, as Russell has said there would be. Spoiler alert, I'm going to mention some stuff that Russell mentioned on the show Imagine.
This is Abbey Road.
This is going to be Studio 1 at Abbey Road, the big studio.
I know it, I know it.
It has to be said there's a great big battle in here to save the universe, with people being flung all over the place and a moving piano.
It sounds very chaotic, so I imagine they have quite a part to play in the episode. But now I love to know what you guys would want for a Beatles episode, or what you're expecting from the next series of Doctor Who. Please leave a comment below. But now, you've probably watched this video wondering, where is the next part of the damn history of Doctor Who? What have you been doing for 5 months, Louis? Well, it's done! But it's in a broken hard drive that needs a data recovery, and I'm not planning on remaking those 3 parts I did. They're like 45 to 50 minutes each. So I'm still saving up for this recovery. It's very expensive, so the best that you can do, like all Doctor Who fans and Amy Pond did... Wait! Yes, I know, more waiting, but I'll keep you updated, and I promise it'll be worth it.
Patience is for wimps!
Oh, and you never saw me post part 2 on Doctor Who Day last year. It sucked, that's why it's gone. But it really just wasn't ready to be seen. There's your explanation. If I missed any Beatles references you love or know, let me know in the comments below. And a thank you to these Patreons as well. You guys absolutely rock. There's some new stuff coming your way with even more bonuses. If you'd like to become a Patreon, the link is in the description below. And of course, like and subscribe if you like my content, and I'll see you soon.